Good evening. This is Samit from TalksOnGround. The last 2 days have been very explosive. We first saw this very horrifying disaster in Ahmedabad on an international flight, which crashed within a minute of taking off. Air India flight, and many people have died, almost 260 plus, whatever. So many condolences to everyone who's affected. Horrifying incident. There have been many issues with Boeing planes, and uh, I think it was flying a GE engine. So I guess the authorities will reach some conclusions. Today there were two flights that were like diverted after some bomb threats on Air India. So I'm sure a sabotage angle will also be looked into. I will come back with more details on this one. Today we're going to talk about something very different. Um, Now, the other thing that's happened is the Israeli strike on Iran, effectively neutralizing its nuclear capability, its ballistic missile capability, and in a pretty expanded version of Operation Sindoor, the Operation, uh, what is it, the Rising Lion by Israel has really neutralized the Iranians then and there. So let's see what happens on this front. I will cover it as well in a separate podcast. But today we are going to really talk about something else. This is related to Operation Sindoor, and we are going to discuss how India managed to kind of surprise everyone with their precision strikes. And there was this talk about the Pakistanis using Chinese planes with PL-15s and really being able to down some Indian aircraft using a kill chain. So today I'm going to talk about the kill chain and tell you how India's kill chain was effective and how it kind of countered whatever the Chinese or whatever the Pakistanis threw at India during that time. So before we go into more details, let me first just quickly tell you what I've gathered or what this kill chain is. Basically, it's the process that any military follows to kind of uh, plan their mission. So first they detect, what the target can be, or there's a detection phase, and then they decide, okay, this is a verifiable and a valid target. So they start tracking it. Once they confirm that it's within their reach, then it's stuck. It's also called engage. And then basically you find out later on if there's enough battle damage or whatever. So this is like a very linear, simple top-down logic. But there's more nuance to this than it appears at first go. I am going to talk about how India's skill chain worked and China's didn't. So, as I said, this is just another way of thinking about this. So, these are missiles, then there's a radar system, AWACS, satellites, drones, and aircraft, whatever. So, all of these come together in a certain network, and these networks then hand off their handoffs and things going on to ensure that the enemy is taken by surprise and assets of the attacking country are not destroyed and the other person suffers of the damage. So that's pretty simple. Uh, so let's think about what India, US, and China, what are their, what is their thinking and doctrines around the kill chain. For the Americans, they are evolving into what they call a kill web, a multi-domain operation, while the Chinese think of the kill chain as a system destruction warfare, which means that they would first destroy all the uh, key targets of the enemy so that they cannot kind of penetrate into China. While the Americans are a little more distributed, they think about it in an interlinked multi-domain system. It's technology heavy, it's modular. Now, I must tell you, this is work in progress. The Americans are still platform dependent. Now, what does it mean? It means F-35 can fly in with help from maybe some satellites or AWACS or some ground radars and just finish a mission, not necessarily relying on someone else to fire its own missiles. Uh, so just to take a step back, so traditionally we used to have a simple equation. A fighter aircraft will take off, that fighter aircraft will have missiles, it has a target, it fires those missiles, the missile is guided by the aircraft. So that's the normal traditional thinking. Nowadays the thinking is okay, there will be three aircraft that take off as in fighters. One of them carries a missile, the other two are maybe protecting the first plane. And then the missile is really um, guided by the ground radar or satellite or whatever AWACS. And it does not, the missile does not switch on its radar till the very end, and therefore it cannot be detected by the enemy. And this is what the keychain philosophy is. So you distribute the risk across your assets so that one particular asset is not vulnerable, and therefore all the assets become less vulnerable to destruction from the enemy, because you're not switching on your electromagnetic uh, emissions, which can happen through radars or other systems that you have to switch on if you are doing all the jobs from that one aircraft or whatever platform you're using. So even missiles, they at times have some sort of guidance system. So if you start relying on satellites or AWACS or something, then it also reduces its own radar signature and becomes very difficult um, for the enemy to find out where you are, and kind of lock on to you and finish you off. The Indian kill chain really is an evolving one. It seems to right now be going towards a hybrid war. Anyways, we'll move forward. So what are they trying to achieve now? If your capability doesn't have the expanse of or the scope, supposing India has to fight on two fronts, or if China is embroiled in South China Sea and Taiwan as well, then their whole planning of the kill chain, kill web, whatever you call it, becomes this whole network centric warfare becomes useless. Uh, so you have to think of scope, you have to think of scale, you also have to think of speed, how quickly can you act, and whether you can survive. So these are the four parameters that people look at. Um, so now there was something that India did, which is less reported, less talked about. And in my open source research, I came across certain things and I thought I'll share it with you. And this is very, very interesting. So, one second. So, there is this Heron drone which the Israelis provided to India. Now, this Heron drone is like a kamikaze, whatever. So it can go and hit a target. It can loiter over it for a long time. All know what loitering munition is. If you don't, basically it's like a drone which can hover over a target for a long time and then just come down and kill the target. So very simple logic there. Now the interesting thing is, it seems that the uh, the Indians, when they used this Heron drone, it was especially used against the air defense in Lahore, and I can now show you a very interesting. Yeah. So this is the video. So you can see that this drone targeted the air defense system in Lahore, and it hovered over it, and then with that scary sound, it just came down. Now, why is it important? So it seems that this targeting by India's, or rather Indo-Israeli Heron drone, was really autonomous. So there was no operator who was controlling this drone, and it used a AI-driven system. And that is one of the reasons that the Pakistanis were not able to counter these drones. So they were scared that, if we were to switch on our radars and all that, I mean, why do you have them in the first place if you're not going to switch them on at all, even during a war? So they were protecting their assets, and they were not getting any signatures of the drone. Why? Because it was not connecting to a satellite or AWACS or some other Indian asset where the operator was sitting and deciding, okay, now you go and become a kamikaze over this target or target this. So this is what led to this extreme precision and extreme inability of the Pakistanis to actually end up with with any kills in reality. They claim they had neutralized 15, 16 of these drones, but my information is they failed in most of them. And the reason is because they were all autonomously, they were flying to the targets on their own. The targets were pre-fed, and therefore they just loitered for long times at some places. The angle of attack, the timing of attack, the way they reached the target, those trajectories were very, very different. Now you might think as to, it's a simple thing, but it's not. And I'm going to just show you another aspect of this. Now, this is a news piece which came out on the 14th of May. So, on 13th of May, top Indian military officers briefed some defense attaches on successful operation, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, they gave a speech to some defense attaches and so on. So, you can see that. Now, my understanding and my research tells me that India especially briefed the Americans and the Israelis because the Israelis have sold this setup. And when the Indians showed them the logs, of course, not everything was shared, but whatever India showed surprised the Americans and the Israelis because they did not expect India to have an AI driven targeting. They expected an operator to be doing this. This was also used when the Indian parliamentary delegation went to the US recently, and they briefed some think tanks like the RAND, especially close to the Pentagon, I'm told, and they were convinced using these logs that because these were autonomous drones and they were pre-fed with the targeting, so they were not really. India was not responding in a random manner. India was not overreacting. India was not. There was no operator sitting who was just targeting every air defense system, and that was used to convey the message that by the way, we can do this using AI. We are perhaps a little ahead of the curve than what even the Americans have right now, even though they have the ability, but their rules of engagement can be a little uh, restrictive at times. And the success of this drone operation, especially, has really convinced the Americans and the Israelis, or at least the West, you can say, that they have to keep engaging India when it comes to AI, because India seems to have gone a little further ahead in the AI, in the military, in the targeting domain, especially with drones and so on, even the air defense, than they have conceived or perceived that India has, and also as to where they are with their programs. That's not to say that the Americans don't have a very sophisticated precision targeting system. And they use AI in that, but they don't allow the AI to carry out the whole operation because they don't trust it enough. There was an exercise in Rajasthan which kind of proved this even before Operation Sindoor had taken place. So now you would understand what I meant, that the Indians have actually proved that they have a kill chain wherein they are sending in a drone which is pre-programmed, which uses some communication at some point. But because there is no connection with any satellite, there is no way for the enemy to find out, what the signature is, and therefore they were not able to do a soft kill on this. They can only fire a missile or a gun or whatever on it. So this is a very interesting discovery. I thought it's a very very interesting thing that has happened. So what the Pakistanis claimed on day one on May 7th was that the PL-15 missile from the J-10C was fired autonomously by a AWACS and the pilot was not involved. And then the PL-15 went towards the target in India and kept its radar off, and which is their unique kill chain. Now, what I've just shown you is that not only did uh, at least 8 PL-15s land in India intact, which means they were jammed, and that is why they didn't even have the ability to blast as a protection mechanism. Uh, and what India was able to prove was that it has its own kill chain, which is now evolving into what is called a kill web, uh, which is a network of kill chains basically. So this is where we are now. Just to give you a doctrine level insight, this is how I've like summarized the Chinese model. That their attack will be basically to deter the enemy. The Americans fight a slightly longer battle to kind of exhaust. Surely the Israelis don't do that. While the Indians tend to do this to signal, which is one level lower than deter. So, we will destroy 11 of your runways, just enough so that you can't operate them, while Israel will go and just destroy every runway and more than what say India has done. So that's more deterrence than signaling. But this is an evolving doctrine, and as things go along, and as India evolves its military modernization process, I think we will uh, we will see more of network centric warfare as we go along. Though you need a backup plan to enable the platforms to be independent and continue to be operational if some of your nodes get destroyed. Um, this is a South Korean example of a missile. I don't have the translations, anyways. Uh, so India is uh, evolving faster than expected, and I thought this is a very interesting development. Again, I'm going to come back and talk about the Air India crash and the Iran-Israel conflict later on. Hope you enjoyed this broadcast, and if you have questions and comments, I would really love them. And also, if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you, and good night.